My love of RPGs was solidified whenever I played Chrono Trigger on Super Nintendo for the first time, and ever since then, I've loved the genre. Whenever the PlayStation 1 came out, that's when I really hit the RPG genre hard. And case in point, years later, I have played way more than I did whenever I was younger, and I still think PS1 is king of RPGs. Yes, people say that the Super Nintendo is the golden age of RPGs, but listen, I only grew up playing Chrono Trigger. I didn't really get the chance to play like Secret of Mana, Illusion of Gaia, or anything like that. PlayStation was more the hub for me whenever it came to RPGs. So today's list is going to be focused on PlayStation itself and my top 10 RPGs of all time for now for PS1. Stop you right there. First of all, this list is from number 10 all the way to number 1. So just letting it out there so that way you'll know how we're ranking this. And of course, now, one more thing that I want to get into before we start, the checklist that I normally have whenever it comes to RPGs on how they actually make this list. I have 3 key components that I look for whenever it comes to RPGs. Number 1 is going to be story. Number 2 is going to be gameplay. And of course, number 3 is really important, and that's replayability. Now, there are 2 bonuses that I do look for, but they're not really that important, and that will be graphics and the OST. Now that I've actually laid out the line whenever it comes to what I look for RPGs, let's get into the top 10 list. And starting off at number 10 would be Parasite Eve. Now, Parasite Eve is an actual entry that I played later on a couple of years ago, and I was floored by how I missed this title. It ties in survival horror and RPG lumped into one, which are 2 of my favorite, actually my top 2 favorite genres, believe it or not. And a lot of people want to classify this as a survival horror. No, it's more of an RPG than survival horror. I like to think of it as like an RPG with survival horror elements because you're, fighting the mitochondria, your Ayabrea, which people say I look like her. Yes, I know I do. You don't have to point that out. I do want to cosplay her at some point. Getting off track anyway. Game is phenomenal. Not Parasite Eve 2. That's horse shit. That literally threw me off when I played PE2, which I still need to finish, by the way. I'm literally in game right now. That's more like a Resident Evil clone. This one is its own gem. Coming in at number 9, we have Rhapsody Musical Adventure. Now, I'm not really a fan of tactical RPGs, as I've said many times, because they are a bore fest for me. I mean, case in point, Final Fantasy Tactics, good lord, I feel like my brain's gonna fucking rot off whenever I play that. I just find them boring. I find them too tedious. I like, whenever it comes to RPGs, I like turn-based and action. I go, pow, done. I'm on the move. But with tactical RPGs, you have to use your noggin more, and I don't want to do that whenever I play a game. At least not for those, anyway. This one is very simplistic. That's one thing that captured my eye with it. You play as cornet. And of course you have your little trumpet. It's musical, it's whimsical, it has musical scores in it which are hilarious as hell. It's definitely a cutesy game. I might get some flack for putting this at number 8 on the list, but you know what? It stays there because there are other RPGs that are way better than even my favorite Final Fantasy game. Yeah, I said it. You heard me right. It goes to Final Fantasy 7! No! Oh, almost got you, didn't I? Psych! Anyway. Yes, Final Fantasy 9 takes the number 8 spot. It's my favorite Final Fantasy game of all time. OST, visuals, story, everything about this game is compelling. I love it. Still playing this game, actually. I've not finished it yet, but it made such an impact on me. I had to put it on my list. I figured it would go at number 7, and that would be Shadow Madness. Yes, Shadow Madness, the Final Fantasy VII clone game. Now hold the phone. It's not the visuals that make this game. It's not the gameplay. Yes, it has pre-rendered backgrounds. Yes, it literally is like a copy of Final Fantasy VII, but there's a difference in it, and that is the dialogue. The dialogue alone and the characters in this game set this miles apart from a lot of RPGs for me. And even though some of the things on this list are subpar, like I said, the gameplay and the graphics are it's still a fantastic game to play. Heart 5 alone is the star of this damn game. This was the first RPG I beat this year, and coming in at number 6, that is Claudelka. Now, Claudelka is one that people like to classify as either an RPG or survival horror. For me, it goes to RPG with survival horror elements, kind of think like Parasite Eve. Now, this one also is a tactical RPG, but it's very subtle. It's not something that you have to use your noggin a lot for. You play as here, 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 and then you're done. It's not really that hard to actually do the mechanics. Yes, it does have tank controls, but that doesn't bother me. I'm really used to a lot of tank controls whenever it comes to survival horror on PS1. What makes this one is the dialogue yet again. Dialogue for PS1 and a lot of older games really is something that I hold near and dear to my heart. I really wish they still made games like that. Top 5 now. Y'all ready for number 5? That goes to Thousand Arms. This is a very unique RPG. It takes dating and RPG and slaps it into a sandwich. Yes, you go on dates with 9 pretty ladies. You can piss them off too, trust me, you know, whenever you go on dates. So you can either make them really happy or really, really mad at you. And making them happy is the premise of that, so that way you can unlock the powers and use them in battle. Another thing about this game that's really unique is the anime cutscenes. They are visually beautiful and pleasing. There's also different visuals as well whenever you're in battle and the overworld. So it has like 3 types of animation lumped into one game. And it is phenomenally hilarious with the dialogue, especially whenever you go on dates with the ladies. Number 4 spot is pretty special to me, and this game has a lot of memories for me since it's one of the few RPGs I streamed on TikTok. Yes, I used to stream on the Clock app before I moved completely over to Twitch for that. And I made a lot of good friends from streaming this game a few years ago, and they're still my friends now. So many moments shared with this game, trying to figure out what the hell to do, where to go, so many laughs with it, and I'll cherish those forever. And that goes to number 4 spot is Legend of Legaia. Now this game is different with a lot of ways. Now listen, before I get started with it briefly, I do want to touch base on this. I did play Dual Saga, which is number 2, the second entry in the series first before I played the first entry, and I do not like Dual Saga. Just wanted to throw that out there real quick. Getting back to this one, what makes this game unique is the hyper arts. You know, you actually have to learn those, the abilities. Noah, Gala, Vaughn have different ones that you'll learn. And also another unique thing about this game too is that their actual armor and weapons change as you change them out. So that's something that's not really heard of during the PlayStation era. But the story is definitely great. You see the backgrounds of all 3 characters. They develop as the story goes. This was the game I recently just finished. At number 3 spot, that's going to Breath of Fire 3. Now, I played Breath of Fire 4 a long time ago, and I liked it. It was not a bad RPG, but that was the only Breath of Fire game I played until I finished this one. And man, this one was amazing, and it actually bumped to the number 1 spot as far as the Breath of Fire series go. Now, I did play Dragon Quarter enough to know I don't like it, so I still need to play 1 and 2 to experience the full Breath of Fire line. I will eventually. I'm still looking for those on Super Nintendo. Yes, I know you can get them on GBA, but I don't want to play them that way. They gotta be on the Super Nintendo, baby. Anyway, moving back to this game, the characters, Momo, Ryu, everything about this game just made me laugh. I love doing the voices for these characters too. That's one thing about RPGs that I haven't talked about, but I will now, is that I love doing the voice acting whenever it doesn't actually happen in an RPG, especially during the retro era. Because whenever voice acting came along for RPGs, yes, it is nice to actually hear actors and hear the actual characters that come to life like that, but I always like doing my own because I feel like it makes it more special whenever you do that. Case in point this, especially with that damn dolphin, and the fairy voices, ooh, no. 1 playthrough. That's all it took. Sometimes that's all it takes with RPGs. I do have a big backlog, so sometimes it's hard to get to RPGs, and plus some of them can be long as hell, and people have been telling me for many years that this game was great. I'm like, I'll get to it. I finally made time for it a couple years ago, and it made my number 2 spot. It had that much influence on me, and that goes to Lunar, Silver Star Story Complete. Now, yes, this is the PlayStation 1 port, I know, but I've not played it any other way. Eventually, I want to experience it on other consoles that it came back out on back in the day. No, I don't want to play the remasters because I want to actually keep the actual originality to this and leave the remaster alone. Remasters are alright, but I prefer the original way to play games versus a remaster or a remake because I feel like there was so much more magic back in the day whenever game developers actually made something like this for us. Y'all knew this was coming. Alright, everyone knows that this is my favorite PS1 game of all time. I talk about it so much. I've streamed it 3 times since I started streaming a few years ago because it's that highly requested. No, I'm not streaming it no more because I have too much shit to play in this backlog. You see this collection behind me? There's so much shit I gotta get to. but I will eventually in the future probably, because it's my favorite PS1 game of all time. Coming at number 1, Legend of Dragoon. This game, between the graphics, the pre-reader drops, the OST is slamming and jamming, even on the actual menu system. And the only thing about this game that people get annoyed by is the grindiness, and it takes too long to get into. Well, yeah, some RPGs are like that. Get over it. And the addition system is too hard. Well, learn how to do it like I did, and you'll have some fun with it. And it, you know, like I said, I'm a glutton for punishment with some things, but I'm very stubborn too, so I will literally go on my way to learn as much as I can and try to get good. Yes, I said it, get good at shit. But the story alone is well worth this game. The Dragoon transformations are out of this world. This sits at number 1 and has never been topped by anything else on PlayStation 1. Now, everyone's going to say, why not Chrono Trigger? Listen, I don't count ports whenever it comes to different systems, whenever it comes to like that as my favorite game. Chrono Trigger sits on Super Nintendo. That's where it stays as my favorite game of all time across all consoles. The PS1 port, I do like it, but it's not fair to count that whenever it originally came out on Super Nintendo. And that's how I originally played it. That's how I see it. That's the way it's going to stay. But that's my top 10 games of all time for RPGs for PS1. Let me know in the comments what your top 10 RPGs are for PS1. But until next time, this is the PlayStation Girl signing out. Game on!